And he said to me in the Matt Chess Club one day, he goes, Wes, I'm going to follow you around for the rest of your life because you wrote a book on the Phil Liver counter game. And the Grandmaster overheard him and said, and after the FIDE master walked out of the room, he said, why would he say that to you? I never heard anybody say something like that. And I laughed at him and said, he was just kidding around. But he really wasn't. I had a team captain at the U.S. Amateur team say, Jim, the club's paying all of our expenses and we wanted to play board 3, but you can't play the Phil Liver counter game, otherwise you can't play our team. I mean, it was just unbelievable. So there's something about this opening which I don't completely understand. All this irrationality on the part of the critics of it, and maybe by the end of tonight's lecture, you guys can enlighten me as to why I don't have a problem playing this opening. Now, Lev Zilberman, who was supposed to be here tonight, but I guess he couldn't make it, he told me he would be here. In the last 4 days alone, he beat a Grandmaster on the ICC with the Phil Liver counter gambit, a Spanish Grandmaster in a 5-minute blitz game named Enrique Rodriguez Guerrero. And on Sunday, he drew another Grandmaster named Nigel Davies at a simultaneous exhibition at Red Bank. And he can tell you his horror stories as well, some of the, the craziness on the part of the critics, where there's something about this opening that they don't like, and I'm not really sure. Maybe you guys can explain it to me so that I can expand my learning curve here. Is it because there's too many pawn moves in the opening and you don't like pawn moves? Is it because Paul Morphy played it and the average Class C player today can beat Paul Morphy, supposedly, even though Fisher said nothing could be further from the truth? Or is there some other explanation for it? Now,
Most people just don't like change.
you know what it is?
Deviating from the standard norm.
I think it's not great. I think Bobby Dudley was right
Unnerving.
that, the problem I think is the scientific approach to chess. I know that sounds like a dumb thing to say, but, I don't think chess is a science. And what you have now is this very narrow-minded approach where there's only some select few correct openings that you can play, and everything else is bad chess, or this isn't even chess at all, I'm told. And I think that's what's killing off the game. I think that's why Fisher said the old chess is dead. I don't play the old chess anymore. He invented Fisher Random. And Capablanca wanted to introduce a new chess piece. And we hear proposals to do away with the stalemate rule. I think what we really need to do is to, go back to these old openings from the Morphy era, from before Steinitz, and look at them with a fresh pair of eyes. Some of these openings, it's not that the old chess is dead, it's that the brains of a lot of our chess players are dead, I think. They have this brain dead approach to chess where you have to play only these correct few openings, and I think that that's what's killing off the game of chess, in my opinion. I don't think chess is a science, and this whole scientific approach, people will say, is a Phil Liver counter game playable? Is it playable? But we don't even know if the starting position is playable. Checkers has been solved. We now know that every game of checkers, when properly played, should end in a draw, but it's estimated it'll be 200 years, if ever, before they solve chess. So how can you have a scientific approach to chess when we don't even know if the starting position is playable? What's this absurd question, is the Phil Liver counter game playable, when we don't even know if the original position on the board is playable? And don't tell me, well, of course it's playable. Don't you think by now we would have found a forced win if there was one? Look at the end game of king and 2 bishops versus king and knight. 5 pieces, a very simple ending. And for hundreds of years we thought it was a draw, and then the computer cranked out a win in 220-something moves. Now, with there's 32 pieces on the board and more possible moves in the game of chess than atoms in the universe, literally, and by a wide margin, not even close, you're telling me that we can solve the game of chess? And now I'm supposed to prove to you that the Phil Liver counter game is playable? That whole scientific approach, I think, is wrong. I think what we should be striving for creating beautiful chess games. Bruce Pandolfini, in a lecture a couple years ago, was reprinted in Chess Cafe. He said that chess is a nonverbal language. And if that's correct, and I agree with him, then I think the Phil Liver counter game is like nonverbal poetry. It's like a poem. That game that Morphy played here, even Steiners didn't like Morphy begrudgingly acknowledge that this was a masterful performance. This is like nonverbal poetry the way Morphy played this game. Like every move, like when you're writing a poem, you have to pick every word very carefully and very accurately. I think that's what we should be striving for, is to create beautiful chess games rather than these ugly games that the computer is cranking out. And ultimately, I don't think chess is a science. It's that simple. And I think that that's part of the reason why the Fuller accounting gambit is disliked, because it's so complicated that these scientific-minded people, they know they can never figure it out. And I think they're afraid of it. I mean, it's too bad Len Zimmerman isn't here, because he took a lot of flack for this, but he actually wrote a poem rather inelegantly titled Yellow Cowards, which a lot of people on the internet objected to, saying that people who don't play the Fuller counter game, that they're afraid, they're cowards. Now that's probably a little harsh, but I think there's some truth to that, where I think people are afraid to play this game for some reason. Maybe it's that peer pressure, maybe they're afraid of being ridiculed. Oh, you played that lousy Fuller counter game that everyone knows this line can't be any good. At the World Open on the 4th of July in Philadelphia, a Pennsylvania player walks up to me and goes, "Are you Jim West? You the guy who used to write those articles for playing chess on the Fuller counter game, but you better stop playing that. That line can't be any good, because if it's any good, then how come hardly anyone plays it?" Now, in the United States of America, there's 300 million people, and only 79,000 belong to the U.S. Chess Federation. There's more people at MetLife Stadium for a football game than there are USCF members in the United States. If you do the math, 99.99999% of Americans don't belong to the U.S. Federation. This guy, who's a chess player belonging to the Federation, is telling you with a straight face that if hardly anyone does something, it can't be any good. You couldn't make that up. Why is he even playing chess? Obviously, he doesn't believe it. And not only that, it's the 4th of July in Philadelphia, when everybody's down at Independence Hall for the 4th of July festivities, or the fireworks display, they're at the backyard barbecue. And here he is, honey, I'm going to play chess today on the 4th of July in Philadelphia, which hardly anybody else is doing. Now he's telling me that the Fuller counter game that can't be any good because hardly anyone plays it. I think that I think chess players, 22 and a half years ago, I would have passed a polygraph test that chess players are more logical and more rational than non-chess players. But I don't think I'd pass the polygraph test today after what I've seen regarding this opening, where they're copycats. You have players that have never played an original move in their life. All they do is plagiarize other people's ideas. They'll rattle off. I mean, there was a game at the U.S. Chess